Okay, this is part 2 of 6 ways to hook your audience. So let's take a look at our fourth strategy, story. This is also sometimes called anecdote. So this strategy involves telling a story, and it's a great way to get your audience leaning forward and really listening and engaged. This story could be a real experience that you had, something that really connects you to your topic, or it could be a fictional story that asks your readers to, imagine a world where, and you kind of paint a picture for them of what it's like. Either way, you need to keep it brief. This is only your hook, not your entire speech, so you don't want to give a 15-minute story. Just a minute or two to kind of get your your audience, listening and hooked and interested. So again, it could be a real life experience where you're kind of sharing some of your personal experiences, or it could be a fake world that really just helps paint a picture for the audience. All right, so let's take a look at a speech that starts with a story or an anecdote.
So imagine a big explosion as you climb through 3,000 feet. Imagine a plane full of smoke. Imagine an engine going clack, 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 clack. Sounds scary. Well, I had a unique seat that day. I was sitting in 1D. I was the only one who could talk to the flight attendants. So I looked at them right away, and they said, no problem. We probably hit some birds. The pilot had already turned the plane around, and we weren't that far. You could see Manhattan. 2 minutes later, 3 things happen at the same time. The pilot lines up the plane with the Hudson River. It's usually not the route. He turns off the engines. Now imagine being on a plane with no sound. And then he says 3 words, as unemotional 3 words as I've ever heard. He says, brace for impact. I didn't have to talk to the flight attendant anymore. I could see in her eyes, it was terror. Life was over. And I want to share with you 3 things I learned about.
So we'll go ahead and pause there. So this man was actually on the plane that crashed into the Hudson River not so long ago, and he shares his personal experience by starting with a story. And it really gets you interested in wanting to hear more. So some of you may have even been thinking, no, don't pause it, I want to hear more. And that's what makes a great hook. That's exactly what your goal is. Okay, next strategy that we're going to take a look at is quotation. So here you begin your presentation with a quote that's thought-provoking, and usually it's by somebody who's famous, who is well known. It's going to help connect your audience to your topic, and it's going to connect you and your topic to that speaker. A lot of times that adds to your credibility because you're sort of aligning yourself with, a famous person or a famous quote. So an example might be, the brilliant scientist Albert Einstein once said, and then you give his quote. So now you're aligning yourself with Albert Einstein. That's going to be something that's easy for them to remember. If you used a quote in your paper or in your essay, you can use this quote also in your speech that you are giving. Keep in mind, again, when you're giving it as a presentation, it's usually going to be, somebody who's famous or well known. Or if not, you want to introduce and explain who that person is. So if you have no idea who gave your quote, or who that person is, try doing a little Google search and getting some background information on who they are. The more important the person is who gave your quote, the more powerful your quote will be. So that's important to keep in mind. Okay. The last strategy that we're going to take a look at is humor. So keep in mind that humor is not about telling jokes. Your humor should directly relate to your thesis, the main point of your speech. There has to be a connection. When using humor, consider what your audience is going to think is funny. Who your audience is going to play a role on what's going to be funny and what's not, and what's appropriate to use and what's not. However, I do caution you to use humor with extreme care. There's a big difference between being funny and being silly. You want to always act professional when you're up there giving a speech. And it needs to be something that goes with your topic and is still professional while being funny at the same time. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at a couple of people who very tastefully use humor in a way that's actually helpful. All right, take a look at this one.
So yeah, I'm a newspaper cartoonist, political cartoonist. I don't know if you've heard about it, newspapers, you know. It's a sort of paper-based reader. It's lighter than an iPad. It's a bit cheaper. You know what they say? They say the print media is dying. Who says that? Well, the media. But this is no news, right? You've read about it already.
Okay, so you get the idea, right? He was being funny there, talking about telling his audience what a newspaper is, as if they didn't know, as if this was so archaic or so long ago that, people don't even read newspapers and they wouldn't even know what they are anymore. And then, of course, he showed that little political cartoon there that was kind of funny, where the guy said, "Oh, I heard that newspapers are going out of style because I read it on the internet." Ah ha ha, makes us laugh. Just because humor is, well, fun. Let's take a look at one more example.
I have spent the past few years putting myself into situations that are usually very difficult and at the same time somewhat dangerous. I went to prison. Difficult. I worked in a coal mine. Dangerous. I filmed in war zones. Difficult and dangerous. And I spent 30 days eating nothing but this. Fun in the beginning, a little difficult in the middle, very dangerous in the end. In fact, most of my...
All right, so you get the idea there. Makes you laugh. It's funny, and it gets you interested in wanting to hear more about his speech. Just please, I do caution you, if you use humor, to be very careful and make sure that you are still professional at all times and it connects well with your topic. All right, so that's it. That's all 6 strategies that I have for you today about ways to hook your audience. So think about your topic, think about your purpose, and try to choose a strategy that you think will work best in this particular case. And these can go for any presentation, any speech, on any topic at any time. So these are good things to keep in mind for the future as well. All right, good luck.